Do you absolutely love watching birth stories? When I was pregnant, I did, and the closer I got to my due date, the more birth stories I wanted to listen to and watch. So my name's Nicole. I'm a mama and a physical therapist. On this channel, I like to share all things about being a mama and birth and how to prepare for birth and how to recover from birth. But today, I'm just going to get a little more personal and tell you about my birth story. So thanks for joining. So, starting out with my birth, I had decided I wanted to do a natural vaginal delivery with as little interventions as possible. I had read this book by Mama Natural, and it talked about a natural childbirth and walked you through like all the decisions that you're going to have to make in the labor and delivery room and like the benefits, pros and cons of each thing, and I had just decided that this is something that I wanted to do, and I was like, I can do this. Like, I am badass, and I can do this. So, we fast forward to like the end of my pregnancy. You hit that 40-week mark, and they take you in for a stress test and ultrasound, and yep, baby looks good. But you're starting to get a little stressed, at least I was, because they're like, well, you can only go so much over. And I was like, oh, I really don't want to be induced because I'm so afraid if I get induced, I'm not going to be able to survive it without medications for pain because it's so dang intense when you get induced, right? And so days are going by, I get my membrane stripped, and I'm like, okay, my sister, about like 18 hours after that, she went into labor, and it was awesome, so I'm waiting, and nothing. I'm at home, I'm doing hot relaxing baths, and I am going to the chiropractor, and I'm doing so many walks, and I am bouncing on that ball, I am doing squats and workouts and stairs, and doing it all. Nothing. Like, literally, I had Braxton Hicks, which I'd been having for probably most of the third trimester, but nothing intense, nothing that I could even be like, oh, for sure that was a contraction. So I'm like, dang it, And the doctor said she would let me go 2 weeks over, and then much to my dismay, was like, okay, day 10, I'm going to induce you. I'm like, you said day 14. And she's like, yeah, but like, what if you're in labor and I don't want the baby to be that big? And whole nother discussion about that and like what's a normal amount over and a safe amount over. But anyways, that was what my OB had decided. And so I was like, dang it. So I did a lot of listening to birth stories, affirmations, a lot of praying and journaling, and just like, okay, finally realizing this isn't in my hands, like I need to just let it go. So 8 p.m. on a Sunday night, me and my husband head to the hospital, like going to Baby Mart to pick up a baby. I haven't had a single contraction. I feel completely normal, and we're going to leave this place with a baby. Crazy, right? So check in. The first step is they hook you up to the fetal monitor, and just to kind of see if you're having contractions, what baby's doing and things like that, kind of get a base. Well, she hooked me up. It was like, I don't know, 10 minutes. She was still in the room, so it couldn't have been very long. And I was like, oh my gosh, was that a contraction? I'm still in this like dream world about where contractions are really exciting. Obviously, by the end, I had totally changed my mind about that. But at this point, I'm so excited. And she's like, yeah, that was a contraction. I'm like, okay, cool. That's awesome. And a little bit of time passes, and another contraction. Sweet. So, like, this is great. So, and I kept having consistent contractions, enough so that they actually gave me something to soften my cervix, but they didn't end up even needing Pitocin, which was like, I was so excited about this, right? And so they were going to do 3 doses of that medication to soften everything. They ended up giving me 1, and things just started progressing. I started dilating and effacing, and things were just going well. About midnight, it was to the point where I was like, oh yeah, those like, okay, these are not the nice contractions. These are a little bit uncomfortable, painful. Still letting my husband rest because obviously 8 p.m. at night, we hadn't got a lot of sleep, but I was fine. No need to wake him up. About, I don't know, sometime between midnight and 2 a.m., time is kind of fuzzy, but I was like, laying in bed and felt like, oh gosh, like I feel like I just peed. That's weird. Could be my water breaking, but that was nothing like other stories I'd heard. So, okay, so I get up and go to the bathroom and like fluid comes out, but I'm not sure if it's pee or what it is at this point. And I go back to bed and then more leaks out. It's like a slow, like I'm just like leaking. Oh, okay, that's enough to call the nurse about, right? So I called the nurse, and I honestly think when she came in, she was like, there's no way this lady's water broke, but sure enough, it did. I'm dilating more, things are progressing. I don't know, I think I was at around 6 at this point for being dilated, and so definitely contractions are getting more intense. I've called in my reinforcements. My husband is now at the bedside, like, coach reminding me that I want to breathe and like making sure I'm drinking water is something that I want was really important to me. Obviously they don't let you drink much, so I guess it was ice chips, not water. Take that back. Ice chips, whatever. So I'm doing all that stuff, and it's funny because when I imagined my labor, I was like, okay, I'm gonna move around. I brought my walking shoes so we can like walk laps while we're waiting. I'm gonna use the ball and do all this stuff. And I literally did not want to move. The nurse came in and she's like, I think to, keep things moving, it would be good to stand. Like, let's lean over this ball. I felt like I stood for 2 hours. My husband said at most it was like 15 minutes, right? So I like stuck it out a little bit and kneeled, but I just was so like, when I had contractions, everything, I didn't want to move. I didn't want to use any of my muscles. I just wanted to lay there. So I got back into bed after what I thought was 3 hours was really probably 20 minutes. And they did have a peanut ball, and I was pretty comfortable on my side. So we did use the peanut ball between my legs, and I did a little bit on my left side, a little bit on my right side, and that I think really helped progress labor too, because I just kept going all the way until I was about like at 9. And I think at that point the nurse was like, okay, probably the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to feel this just strong urge to push, which in the birth class that I had taken, they walked me through the stages of labor, and I knew that that was, going to come, going to happen. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. And sure enough, it happened. And it is intense. It's so weird. It's like you're going to throw up, but instead of throw up, obviously it's down. It's coming out the other end. So at this point, we're like, wow, this is good. But in my head, I'm still like protecting myself against those stories about 3 hours of pushing. And I tell my husband, like, no, like I know family has a 2-3 hour drive, but they don't need to come yet. And like our doula, I don't know, is there anything she could do? And he's like, yes, like now is the time. We need these people. So he calls the doula comes and calls our parents, and they start making their way over towards us. And at this point, the nurse had said, okay, like, called the OB and is bringing all this equipment, which I don't really notice at the time, but my husband's like, whoa, like, for sure things are progressing. They're not going to do all this for, 12 more hours of labor. So they're doing all this, and the doctor actually comes in, and at that point, I'm like, oh, wow, like, we're going to have this baby soon. And so I am doing my breathing, thinking about opening my pelvis. I thought I was doing a good job. My husband's like, I think the doctor said, and I think that we practice, like, don't hold your breath and bear down. And this was the one moment when I was like, like, no, don't tell me what to do. We had been getting along so well, like we were a team, and this one moment I just didn't yell, but he said there was a pause, and the nurse kind of looked at the doctor like, what's she gonna say? What's she gonna do? But it was fine. He was right. And so I did, was trying to breathe as much as you can through contractions and just pushing with everything you stinking got, right? For me, we did rounds of, I think, tried to push 2 or 3 times with each. Just my body's like natural push. I tried pushing 2 or 3 times with each one. We did have a point where the fetal monitor was showing some decelerations, and the doctor actually put oxygen on me for a few minutes, and so I don't know what the monitors were doing. I wasn't really paying attention, but at this point it was kind of like make a decision. One of the things was I really wanted to do skin to skin and delayed cord clamping, and she kind of said, like, if we don't get the baby out soon, there's a chance we might not get to do those things. So I was like, okay, like, do what you have to do. And so at that point she did do an episiotomy, which honestly, in the grand scheme of things, I didn't really even feel it. Like, I knew it was happening, but compared to the contractions, it really wasn't that bad. The recovery, on the other hand, was a whole nother thing, and I'm sure there's going to be a video in the future about that whole process. There's a little bit of healing with any kind of tearing, but especially episiotomies. So, we did that, and it wasn't long then, and finally his little head came out, and once his head broke through, which my husband said was the most amazing thing ever, he just came flying out, and he was squirmy and wiggly, and they put him on my chest, which was just so amazing to me, and he just squirmed and wiggled everywhere. Like, I was literally afraid he was going to fall off because he was just going crazy. And anybody, like, that knows or follows my story knows, like, legit, in real life, this is how he is too. This is totally his personality. So we got to do that time. You know, the doula took a few pictures, which was amazing, and my husband we didn't know if it was a boy or girl. And so the nurse was like, oh my gosh, you like see what it is? And he looked, and the first thing he said was, oh my gosh, he's got balls. And so we had our little boy, and just soaking in those moments. It was just me and him. And, you know, there's a lot of things that don't go the way you think they're going to go, or the way you planned or prepped. But this moment was so much more than anything I could have planned or prepped. Like, it's amazing. Words can't even describe how you feel. But you kind of feel on top of the world, and pretty badass that you just did that. So for all of you that are freaking out about having a baby, maybe your due date's coming soon, I just want to say, you can do this. Your body was made to do this. You need to tell yourself that. You need to believe that, because it is absolutely true. As far as the timing, like, your body, your baby, God, if you believe in God, like, they're going to come when they're ready to come. So just quit stressing about it as much as you can. You've prepped, you've done your research, you've got your body ready, you did what you can do. The rest is just nature, and it's going to happen, and it's going to be amazing. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed a little piece of my birth story, and I would love to see in the comments below, what was your favorite part of your birth story? And just like always, if you liked what you saw, if you like the content I'm putting out, please subscribe to my channel. If you want to be the first to see things that are coming out, go ahead and hit the bell so you can get notifications when I'm putting out new material. And give me a thumbs up if you want to see more videos like this. I would love to be able to feature a birth story every month, so if that's something that you guys think would be really cool, let me know, and I'm going to start finding some mamas to join me and share their experience so that you can be prepared and have a little peace of mind if that's something that's comforting to you as you're getting ready for this baby. So thanks for tuning in.